Everyone, welcome to LA Rams Central, episode 58. I'm here with my right-hand man, Eric Lewicki, and we are going to go ahead and do the show today. You're going to be surprised at how brief it is. I want to make sure that this gets in before the games start. First thing that I want to do, Eric, is I want to cover the Eagles and Panthers game, and we'll be brief on this. Basically, my feeling on the game was that Philadelphia is ready for prime time.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. The Rams play Philly later in the year, and depending on how the Rams are playing from this point to that point, I think is going to determine a lot. But right now, they are looking like the '92 Eagles with a quarterback, and I don't mean disrespect to the '92 Eagles. Obviously, Cunningham was a good QB, but if you don't know, Randall Cunningham got injured midway through that season, and Philadelphia just never could recover. Even though their defense was playing out of its mind. This is why I loved Carson Wentz and Jared Goff coming out of the draft. And this is why, for the first time in my entire adult life as an analyst, as a coach, as a player, I really couldn't decide who I wanted, JG or, CW. And at the end of the day, I think both teams got quarterbacks that will probably be remembered as the greatest 1-2 picks in the history of professional football, and no one came out a loser.
Going off that, Anthony, I think both quarterbacks landed in the ideal situation.
Oh, I agree completely. So all I want to say about the Eagle game is LeGarrette Blount did exactly what he needed to do. I would like to see them run him a little bit more at the end of the game to put the game officially away. I thought they still relied too much on the pass, but man, that Eagles defense is legit. And Carolina's a good team. They're just not a great team, and I think that bared witness on Thursday.
Yeah, Philadelphia was hurt their running back with no Sproles, and he's been out. He's out for the year, but he was also a good dynamic playmaker both in the passing game and special teams.
Yeah.
So Wendell Smallwood kind of took over that role. Well, he got injured. He was out for that game. So they have to turn to guys who they typically don't give a lot of playing time to. So you're going to see Kenyon Barner step up. And he did. He got ample playing time in this game. But Wentz is a really good quarterback coming into his own. He was hitting Alshon Jeffrey. He was hitting Nelson Aguilar. He was hitting Zach Ertz. It's like the Panthers didn't have an answer for Ertz. But when you have this game type of tight end in Greg Olsen, you should know how to play defense against these kind of tight ends. Wentz was on all night, and the Panthers, they ended up coming back. They played a decent game, but it was the turnovers that killed them. I believe there were 3 turnovers by Newton alone, and that you can't have happen, especially at home on a big night. Both teams 4-1, and now the Panthers kind of got a wake-up call. So Philadelphia's for real. I won't be surprised if they run away with the East. I know Dallas is going to be on their heels, but Philadelphia is the real deal right now.
Yeah, I just 2 things I want to comment on. I'll wrap it up with this. You had talked about when you have a tight end similar, you should know how to defend him. It depends on how practice looks. If Greg Olsen isn't being defended in practice, you're banking on the fact that they're never going to see anything like Greg Olsen in a game. And then when you have somebody like Greg Olsen in a game, you're thinking as a coach, oh crap, I know what they can do to my defense. And you account for that knowing that you're going to get gashed. There was a reason I said the Eagles would win this game. And I told you that he was going to, meaning Cam Newton, was going to get a reminder of what last year was like for him all year long with the pressure and the constant harassment. And that's exactly what happened. When you can get pressure with your front four, you're a formidable football team. And that's what the Eagles are. Someone that is not a formidable football team, the Miami Dolphins, play the Atlanta Falcons today. My Super Bowl pick is still there, and I think this is one of those games where they have to prove it. If you're a Dolphin fan, it's a lost cause. I know you won last week, but your season's only going to get tougher as we go along here. I expect Matt Ryan to have a huge day, Devontae Freeman to have a big day, Julio Jones to have a big day. I could see the Falcons winning this thing 38-10, 38-7, something like that. It's going to be Atlanta all day. There's just too many weapons.
Yeah, I agree. Devontae Parker's out for the Dolphins, so they're going to have to rely a lot on Jay Ajayi. but I think the Falcons scored too early, too quick, and the Dolphins are forced to throw. And when the Dolphins are forced to throw, that means Jay Cutler's throwing interceptions. So it's going to be Atlanta big today.
I agree. Okay, Chicago at Baltimore. I'm sure you want to take this one away, so go ahead.
Yeah, two things I'm looking at here. A, the Baltimore's defense versus Mitch Trubisky. And as we've seen with the Bears the last two times they've been on the road, they have looked like they haven't practiced all week. So I'm curious to see if that was on the coaches or if that was quarterback play. I'm picking the Ravens in this game. I think it's going to be close to a blowout. And it's going to be, that 2-touchdown to 17-point victory for the Ravens. I think the Ravens, after last week, started to get their groove back. With a few injuries to the linebackers, I think you might see Javorius Allen with a big game, Mike Wallace with a big catch, and a lot of Jeremy Maclin in this game too. But I'm curious to see the poise of the young quarterback in Trubisky to see what he can do on the road. But I don't like the Bears in this game at all. The Bears are 3-2 all time against Baltimore, but they've never beaten Baltimore in Baltimore. So that'll continue today.
Interesting. Look, only thing I want to say on this game is, don't judge too harshly. Not you, I'm saying the fans in general. Don't, and especially the media. Don't judge too harshly Mitch Trubisky. He's coming in week 5. This is only a second game of the season. It's a lot like Jared Goff's situation. I'm not sure that John Fox's offense is suitable for this quarterback. Will be interesting to see how he does, but I agree. I picked Baltimore, and I think it'll probably be a runaway 21 points, 14-point type of game. If it's close, I think that bears witness to Trubisky's ability for sure. Cleveland at Houston. I am not making the same mistake that I've made the last 2 weeks. I am starting Deshaun Watson, and all the signs point to a Houston Texan blowout, and it probably could happen. But I liked Kevin Hogan coming out of the draft. I saw him at Stanford being a Pac-12 guy. I living here in Pac-12 country, I follow. If you guys don't know, Alabama, Notre Dame, ASU. Those are and the Maine Black Bears. Those are the 4 college teams I follow. I don't follow anybody else. I don't necessarily care about anybody else. I will watch some of the traditional teams when they're doing well, like an Oklahoma or a Michigan, and root for them because not Ohio State. I never root for Ohio State, but I'll root for them if they've been down for a while to kind of bring back the old days and a reminder of what a traditional program looks like. But those are my 4 teams. Kevin Hogan, I liked him at Stanford. He was the only quarterback coming out of the draft that had played in a pro system. I think he gives the Cleveland Browns an opportunity, especially with J.J. Watt being out. But I think the Houston Texans defense is too much. I think Deshaun Watson has a big day. I think those receivers are going to have a big day. And if the Browns lose this thing 31-14, I think Brown fans need to look at that as a victory because you're not going to see anything like this the rest of the year. And if you can manage to hold them under 40 and you can manage to score a couple of touchdowns on that defense, I think your answer in Kevin Hogan is the answer. And I wouldn't be surprised, Eric, if by the end of the year, Kevin Hogan has solidified himself as the Cleveland Browns' future quarterback. Go.
Well, I think you're making a mistake in starting Deshaun Watson today. It's the perfect game to get the ground game going. So it's going to be the Lamar Miller show. I'm just giving you crap, Anthony.
I know you are. I know you are.
I think Kevin Hogan is the answer for this year, but I think that the Browns are going to be looking at a quarterback for next year if they get one of those top 3 picks. So you could say like Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen or Josh Allen are going to be going to Cleveland if they get, again, a top 3 pick. However, this game spells disaster for the Browns all over it. Watkins to Fuller, Watkins to Watson to Fuller, Watson to Hopkins, Lamar Miller, Dante Foreman. I think it's going to be a Houston Texans road show. I do not give the Browns the slightest chance in this game. Now, if I come back to eat those words on Wednesday when we do the show next, I will gladly eat that. But I do not see the Browns winning this game at all. Yeah. Myles Garrett may cause a little bit of havoc on a drive or two, but I think they'll find a way to neutralize him.
Yeah. Well, and he did against the Jets. Let's see if he can. I mean, and he only got 1 sack. I mean, there's issues there. Green Bay at Minnesota. I'm not picking against Green Bay anymore. I'm convinced that the NFL is weak, and maybe it's because there's too many teams, but we've officially reached the era where one guy can win a football game by himself. And I remember a coach telling me one time that if we lose because of one player, everyone on the coaching staff and everyone that hired the coaching staff should be fired because that does not happen in a game that's supposed to be a team game. But yet somehow the Green Bay Packers do it with one person. And the Minnesota Vikings have no quarterback. And, it looks like Bradford's not playing as usual. So, yeah, I got to go with Green Bay in a rout in this one.
I wish Dalvin Cook were playing in this game because I'd love to see the Vikings offense against that Packer defense, but we're going to have to wait till next year for that.
Yeah.
I'd love to pick the Vikings, but on the road, kind of a short week. Well, it is a short week because they play Monday night. Going into Lambeau, give me the Packers.
Yep. Detroit at New Orleans in what should be one of the highest scoring games of the year. I remember saying that last year for the Saints and Giants, and it was 16-13. Look, I really, really enjoy the Lions, Sam Bradford, Matthew Stafford. I really do. But I also enjoy Drew Brees. I think this is going to be a fun game. I'm picking the Saints to win it. I think it'll be close. I wouldn't be surprised if this game went into overtime, but I'm going to pick New Orleans because in the Dome, at home, that's a different football team.
Yeah, I like the Saints in the Dome. I think that Detroit suffered a loss last week that I don't think they're going to get over quite easily, and I think it's going to affect them in this game. I think you're going to see. Last time I said I think you're going to see New Orleans get up early and get up big. They were in London and they didn't score till late in the second quarter. But I think it's different at home for their own fans. Give me Drew Brees all day in this game.
Yeah. New England at the Jets. Really simple on this one for me. We're going to find out this week if the Jets are for real and if the Patriots are really this bad. If New England loses this game, let the craziness begin. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Patriots are going to put a 40-burger on the board, and I think that the New York Jets are going to get absolutely annihilated at home by the Patriots.
Yes. Patriots big in this game. Jets don't have the firepower. If the Jets can play ball control, and Bilal Powell is questionable for this game, so Matt Forte is back, and their other running back, Elijah, I forgot his name because I tried picking him up in fantasy and I didn't get him. Elijah, help me out if you know him.
I don't.
But if they can control the ground game and McCown doesn't have any interceptions or fumbles, the Jets are going to make this game close for 2.5 quarters, but then expect Brady, Gronk, Brady Cooks, and even White and Gillisley to get their looks and lick their chops at this matchup with Patriots big.
Yeah. I'm so excited for this game, just because I know it's going to be the Redskins coming out party. I'm picking Washington over San Francisco. You let go of your best defensive player, and I don't know what the circumstances were. I'm actually surprised. I think there's going to be a little bit of a letdown from the 49er family because they realize they're in RFK, well, not RFK anymore, FedEx Field, whatever it's called, without their leader, who's now off the team. And they found out about that yesterday. That's not something you recover from. The 49ers offense is not going to be able to do well against the Redskins. It's not because, look, I know Norman isn't playing, but Breeland is a good corner. I love this kid that they got from the Dallas Cowboys. Their safety play has been really good. Their front four have been really good. And they can run the ball. I think Thompson's going to have a big day. Kirk Cousins is going to have a big day. I think the Redskins are going to win this game running away. And I think we're going to find out. This is one of those games for me, Eric. If the Redskins are as good as I think they are, and I think they're as good as Philly, then they've got to win this game big at home against a bad football team dealing with off-the-field concerns. I got the Redskins big at home.
Yeah, you get the Redskins here as well. Funny thing is that San Francisco is getting looked up close at their future quarterback for next year. San Francisco's going to have $75 million in cap room, while the Redskins only have less than $5 million in cap room. I think you're going to see the 49ers go hard after Cousins, and this will be a great game for him to showcase that, because I don't think there's a way that Washington puts a third franchise tag on Cousins after this season. never know, anything's possible. But I think the Navarro Bowman release was a sign of Reuben Foster taking over and being that leader on defense. He's young, somebody else has got to do it. Um, but it's gonna be Cousins showing off his arm to Reed, to Pryor, to Dobson, even to Crowder. Yeah, it's gonna be a whitewash game. Redskins big.
Just remember, because of the franchise tag, they actually have $35 million freed up because the $30 million that's under the cap right now, under the franchise tag, is freed up unless they reapply it. Just remember that little capology there. They'll actually be okay. And if the 49ers go after him hard, they can dump that money on him. The question is, do they want to dump all that money on him? Cousins wants to stay in Washington as well. He's made that very clear. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gave the Redskins a little bit of a hometown discount, but we'll see. I'm going to skip the Ram-Jags game. We'll do that last. Tampa Bay.
Hold on. What's a hometown discount? I mean, he's gotten guaranteed money the last 2 years on one-year deals. What kind of discount? Like the discount lower than what he's getting now?
No,
is that what you consider a hometown discount?
No.
I mean, he's banking it right now.
Right, but I don't think he's expecting $40 million guaranteed. I don't even think Tom Brady has $40 million guaranteed. So I think he just wants to be paid comparable with among the best quarterbacks in football. And I think if the 49ers came in higher than that number and the Redskins were just under that number, not under that number for good quarterbacks, but if the 49ers overpaid and the Redskins paid comparable, I think he would take the Redskins' money. That's just me, though. Tampa Bay at Arizona. The last time the Bucs went to Arizona, they got embarrassed. This is a game for me. I'm picking Tampa Bay for 2 reasons. Winston, if he's as good as everyone says he is, and I personally don't think he is, then this is a game you have to come back after a year ago, because he was here a year ago last year, okay, and got embarrassed. You got to come back into the stadium and show that last year was a fluke and that you're not going to get handled like that again. If the Buccaneers lose this game, I think we can officially write the Buccaneer playoff party ship sunk. But more importantly for me, this is a measure of what kind of a quarterback Winston is. He's got more targets than Evans. So if Peterson lines up on him, you eliminate Evans from the game plan and you focus on your other weapons. I think the Bucs do win this game. I think the Cardinals are a bad football team right now, but I think that this is a revenge game for Winston. And if he's as good as everyone thinks he is, then he needs to prove it with a win in Arizona. Go ahead.
Yeah, to me this is a tough game to call, only because I've seen the Bucs struggle on the road, and they even struggled in the Thursday night game last week against the Patriots. But Arizona, if Palmer gets time, he's dangerous. Whether it's the fifth, whether it's one of the Brown wide receivers. I think that the Cardinals need some sort of ground game to control the clock against Tampa, and I'm not sure Adrian Peterson is that guy to do it. It was a trade that made complete 100% sense at the time it was done. I just think Tampa Bay is going to be too geared up to stop Peterson, so he doesn't have a big day, which forces Palmer to throw. And when Palmer throws at 37, he hasn't been the sharpest. Give me the Bucs by a field goal in this game, and I don't feel 100% confident in this pick.
Yeah, look, I'll say 2 things. The nice thing about the Adrian Peterson signing for Tampa Bay is right now Peterson's ice cold. And you can still do your format of blitzing the quarterback. What you do is you blitz the quarterback, but you hit the running back on the way to the quarterback. And I don't think Peterson is spry enough to make a move in the backfield with that much penetration. And I just don't think you put 8 guys in the box to play the Cardinals anyway. So you don't have to change your game plan at all for this game. It really does come down to the Buccaneers offense putting up enough points to put the Cardinals in a position that they've always been in, which is we have to throw. And unfortunately for Bruce Arians this year, that deficit seems to be tied or 3 points. And then he goes in panic mode and has to throw the ball over the lot, and his running game gets obliterated because unless the running back's name is David Johnson, he has no confidence in the back. Now, maybe with Adrian Peterson, he's going to have confidence, but when Peterson has 6 carries for 12 yards, how quickly does that go out the window? So I think that's an important thing. I'm assuming you probably want this one, Eric, There's 4 games left to talk about. Is Pitt KC the other one you wanted to cover?
Yeah.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Well, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I'm done picking against the Chiefs. Done. Absolutely done until their wheels fall off, which I don't know if that's going to happen. I've read a lot of articles this past week about how Pittsburgh can go in and upset the Chiefs, and I see the point that they have, but Pittsburgh is in such disarray that if they won it, it would actually shock me. I'm picking the Chiefs. I think their offense is just too good right now to slow down. They're getting some injuries. Chris Conley's out for the year, so Albert Wilson's going to have to step up big time in that second wide receiver role. But he's more the third wide receiver, maybe even the fourth wide receiver on that team, or I should say fourth pass catcher, because you have Tyreek Hill, you have Travis Kelce, and Kareem Hunt does a darn good job catching the ball out of the backfield. And if you want to add one more name catching the ball out of the backfield, that's Sharkhandred West.
Yep.
So Albert Wilson's going to play more of the, hey, I'm open, but only throw to me if everybody else is covered, and I'll get that yardage that you need type of player. He's going to be one of those who's going to sit down at that first down marker and say, hey, I'm here. Yeah. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, Roethlisberger has a lot to prove. He's coming off a 5 interception game. If he went into Kansas City and threw up another goose egg in the touchdown category, then all heck is going to break loose in Pittsburgh if they have another showing like they did last week at home. But Kansas City is tough. They can outscore you. They can out-defense you. They can out-hit you. And I know Pittsburgh is one of those teams that used to be able to out-hit everybody and separate you from the ball and whatnot. Those teams are long gone. Give me Kansas City, and I'm glad this game is on here where I can watch it. Give me Kansas City by 10.
Well, get ready for the screams to get really loud in Pittsburgh. There's so many problems with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Some of it is in-house. Some of it is not. I'm convinced they are shaken by their fan base's response last week. I'm convinced that they are alarmed, that they know, as well as I do, how good they made Jacksonville look. Eric, the Jaguars lost in overtime to the Jets. The Jaguars were 2-2 going into that game with 2 bad losses on their record. They went into Pittsburgh and they beat the Steelers like they were a Pop Warner football team. And everyone now is on the Jaguar bandwagon because they beat Pittsburgh. I'm telling you why I'm not on the Jaguars bandwagon. It's because they beat Pittsburgh the way they did. Pittsburgh's not a good football team. They haven't been a very good football team really the last 2 years. I know they made all the way to the championship game last year, but I think the AFC was a very weak league last year, especially when you take a broken-legged Carr out of the equation and a Mariota out of the equation, because people forget the Titans were in the playoff picture right up until the final weekend. And if Mariota doesn't get injured, I think it's the Titans in the postseason, not the Texans. And I think the Raiders are at home for a playoff game, not Pittsburgh. And the Steelers have a very different road to the AFC Championship game in a very weak and pathetic AFC North. So, look, the Steelers, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say 2 things on this. I think Ben Roethlisberger is done. I think he stayed in the year a year too long. He should have retired last year. I said that in our commentary after the Jaguar, or going into the Jaguar game, and that remains to be true. The only reason he may put up good numbers is because he can just yuck it up to Antonio Brown and hope that he puts up some statistics for him, or maybe dump it off to Bell and hope that he can bulk up his statistics. But the days of him finding the other 2 receivers on the run or as the pocket's barreling down on him into triple coverage or double, those days are done. They're done. And the Chiefs are going to put up 38 points in this game. Actually, I think they're going to put up 45. I won't be surprised if the final score of this game is 45-10, with Bell having a rushing touchdown somewhere in there. They can put pressure on the quarterback. They have so many weapons on offense. They can run the ball. And Pittsburgh has proven since this year started, they can't stop anybody's running game. They're not very good against the pass. I mean, you could say they were okay against the pass last week against the Jaguars, but that's because Jacksonville didn't need to run the ball. Fournette put up over 100 yards rushing against that defense with that formidable offensive line. What's Kareem Hunt going to do with his offensive line? I got the Chiefs in a rout. Big time. The Steelers are done. Oakland.
Maybe. And I want to add a quick note. We touched on the 49ers really quick, Anthony, and I think this is pretty big news regarding Navarro Bowman. They actually had agreed to a trade with the New Orleans Saints for a 7th-round draft pick, which I thought for New Orleans that would have been a good get.
Yeah.
However, Bowman asked to be a free agent, and so he could sign wherever he wanted. So I thought that's pretty big news. Expect Bowman to land with a contender, and I would say if you can afford him, don't be surprised if he wants to get back to the 49ers twice a year and land in the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, and that the Rams linebacking core needs help. We just signed Alec Ogletree to. I'll get to that. We signed Alec Ogletree to an extension, but I definitely think the Rams linebackers could use some help, especially in the middle. We will touch on that later. But thank you for bringing that up because I didn't know that there was a trade in the works. I just thought they straight out released him. Chargers at Raiders.
Well, they ended up straight out releasing him, but that's because he asked to be released. But go ahead.
Chargers at Raiders. Carr is back. Raiders win. That's my prediction. I think the Raiders are a different team with this guy at quarterback. The Chargers are bad. They barely beat a bad Giants football team on the road. Give it to them though. They did go West Coast to East Coast and pull off the victory, but it's fitting that the Chargers are playing in Oakland because this is going to be their home in the future. So they kind of get to check out the digs and kick the dirt around a little bit. But I got the Chargers losing to the Raiders in Oakland.
Give me 3 things on this one here. Raiders win, yes. I'd like to see Amari Cooper get involved a lot more in that offense. I think he needs to. However, there was a possibility that this game would have been moved because of the wildfires in California, and the closest wildfire as of, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, was about 45 miles away, but it was the smoke that was getting everywhere. There was a lot of smoke at the Raiders practice, so they were wearing masks actually during practice.
Oh, wow.
The NFL was toying with actually moving this game to another location. How fitting and how funny it would have been if they said, hey, let's go to San Diego.
Right.
But they're playing this game in Oakland. So yeah, Raiders win big.
Okay. Giants at Denver, another one that I think is going to be a blowout. I got Denver winning in a rout. The Giants have no receivers. They have no running game. They have no anything. The Giants, this is a bad Giants football team. I don't know how they go into Denver, which I think is the toughest place in football to play outside of Arrowhead, and do anything against that football team. And I thought it was funny. I was watching the NFL Network this morning, and they were saying that the Giants' solution to the no-fly zone in Denver is to just not have any planes to fly, which they've grounded all flights for the rest of 2017. Denver wins this big.
Yeah, if Eli pulls this one out, he's really truly a magician. But when your leading wide receivers that you're throwing to are Roger Lewis and Evan Ingram, you have problems.
Yeah.
And I see Denver winning this one by the second quarter.
Yeah, if even that, yeah. It could be 21-0 in the blink of an eye. Indianapolis at Tennessee, the Monday night game. I'm picking Tennessee 24-17. It's my go-to score when it's two evenly matched football teams. It doesn't look like Mariota is going to play. The Titans are at home. They do have a running game. They do have the best offensive line in football. Their defense is going to want to recover from the last 2 weeks, making Cutler look great and making, the Watson look like, the greatest quarterback in Houston history. I just think that the Titans are going to buckle it down and lock this one down and get this dub. 24-17 is my call.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Titans. I think Mariota makes a huge comeback. I don't like Indy on the road in this game. If they were at home, it'd be a little closer, but 31-17.
All right. Titans. Going a little higher than me on that one. Okay. All right. Finally, the Rams against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the game of the day. So really quick, I want to go over this. The Rams are all-time 3-1 against Jacksonville. They're 0-1 on the road. They lost 23-20 in 2009 in overtime. In 96, 2005, and 2013, they were home, and they beat them all three times, 17-14, 24-21, 34-20 the last time they played. They've never played. The Jaguars and the Texans are two teams the Rams have never played as the LA Rams. And the Titans, they've never played the Titans as the LA Rams, but they have played the Titans organization when they were the Houston Oilers as the LA Rams. So this is the first time the LA Rams will ever play Jacksonville. Just a little fun fact there for this one. Look, I expect the Jaguars to be playing pretty high. I just think the Rams are, they're the Rodney Dangerfields of football. And I think the Jaguars are like, well, the Rams offense isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers, and look at what we did to the Steelers. And I think they're going to go in a little cocky. I think the Rams can handle, to a degree, the Jaguars' front four. And I think when you look at this team and you break it down, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers versus O-line, D-line, linebackers, and corners, the Jaguars have two really good corners that can shut down Watkins and Woods. But who do they have to shut down Cooper Kupp? Who do they have to shut down Tyler Higbee? Their linebackers aren't good enough to cover Todd Gurley. I'm sorry, but they're not. And if Jared Goff can get protection, I think he can have a big day. I'm looking for the Rams to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the final few minutes of the game. But when I look at this game, I think the three keys in this game for me are this. Number one, the Rams have to be able to get Todd Gurley involved in the offense. If that's throwing him in passes, screen passes, because the Jaguars are getting so much pressure with their front four, then burn them with the screen. If that's running draws, if that's handing the ball off in the I formation and pounding it between the tackles, then that's what they need to do. The other thing is the Rams have to work the middle of the field. They've got to get the ball to the tight ends, whether that's Everett or Higbee, because nobody on this football team can cover either one of them. And I'm a little mad because I'm benching Higbee, and I think Higbee's going to have a big day. I think he's going to have 80 yards receiving and a touchdown. I really do. I think the Rams are going to have a big, big game this week through working the middle of the field. But for me, the reason I'm picking the Rams to win this game is because the Rams defense against the Jaguars offense. Outside of Leonard Fournette, there's no one on Jacksonville that scares you. And if you put 8 guys in the box and you stop the run, do you really think Blake Bortles is going to tear up that Ram defense? And with John Johnson finally playing in the secondary at safety, I think that solidified the Rams' back end of the defense. I think they're only going to get healthier when LaMarcus Joyner comes back. The Rams, they're positioned perfectly defensively to shut down Jacksonville's offense. That means Leonard Fournette may still get 80, 90 yards rushing and a touchdown and maybe 30 or 40 yards receiving, but I don't see it going much beyond that, and I think the Rams have too many weapons for Jacksonville to cover. And it's a 1 o'clock start, which bodes well for the Rams. I see the Rams winning this game. It could be overtime. It could be 27-24. It could be 27-21. But I do see the Rams winning the game. I am going to say, defensively, I'm excited that the Rams signed Alec Ogletree to an extension. Your comment about Bowman, getting him in a Ram uniform would be brilliant because that would solidify the 3-4 defense even more with 2 outstanding middle linebackers to just stand there and just dominate the football field. That would be a smart move on the Rams' part because now you can use one of them as a blitzer and one of them can stay home because they're both fast enough to do lateral speed and cover what they need to. I personally would use Ogletree in his traditional position, and I'd be blitzing Bowman on every other play and getting his hard-hitting hat in there to stop the run if the Rams were to pick him up. But this is down the road. As far as this game goes, again, I'll be brief. My 3 keys are that the Rams have to be able to get the ball over the middle of the field and hit those inside targets like Higbee, Everett, Cooper Kupp. Unfortunately, maybe even Tavon Austin, although we throw it to him, he'll drop it. And we have to utilize Todd Gurley in the offense more than we did last week. Defensively, play your game, put 8 in the box, and dare Bortles to beat you because he can. And I think Joe Johnson may have 2 picks in this game, or John Johnson. My prediction is Rams. I'll make an official score for right now. I'll say Rams 27-20, 27-21. I'll say 27-21 over Jacksonville.
So I called the Jaguars organization on Tuesday, and I said, hey, what team is going to show up on Sunday? And they said Jekyll. I called the team back on Wednesday. I said, hey, what team is going to show up? And they said, hi. So we don't know what Jacksonville team is actually going to show up today. You never know until you actually get on the field.
Yeah.
They don't have consistency. And after the Rams lost last week, I'm close to saying that the Rams are semi-inconsistent as well. But the Rams are the highest scoring team in football. Well, going into last week, I don't know if that dropped. If they dropped,
it dropped. The Chiefs are first.
But
the Chiefs are first.
All that aside, I want to see how that Rams defense does on the road against Fournette. And they have Chris Ivory in there as well, in case they want to spell Fournette. But it's all going to be, does Bortles throw a Roethlisberger-like game? He can't hit his open wide receivers in Mercedes Lewis and Allen Hurns and Marquise Lee? Or is Bortles going to be on point at home? We don't know. Jacksonville, hey, if this game were playing in London, Jacksonville may have put up 40 points.
Yeah.
But it's Jacksonville they're playing in. They're such a inconsistent team that they're inconsistently good. And that's not a recipe for success in the NFL. Now, in the NFC South, or the AFC South, that might just be good enough to win that division or get them in a wild card.
Yeah.
The Rams, really quick on the Navarro Bowman situation. I'm sorry I keep bringing this up in different times, but we'll find out Monday where he's signing. He said no later than Monday he'll sign with somebody.
Okay.
So we'll find out really quick on that tomorrow. However, with this game, this is my upset pick with the Jaguars beating the Rams at home.
Wow.
And I hate to do it, but I want to see, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Goff under pressure make good decisions. He's still a young quarterback. He's got a lot of learning to do. Now, I don't want you Ram fans to be on the edge of your seat saying, okay, it's the fourth quarter. Is Goff going to have this fumble that's going to derail our team? Don't watch the game like that, okay? He's going to be a good quarterback in this league for many years. I'm hesitant to use great, but he's going to be good. And good is going to get the Rams to a lot of playoff appearances.
Yeah.
But what I want to see is the utilization of Todd Gurley take a lot of pressure off Goff. I want to see Sammy Watkins get involved, but I think it's going to be one more week until you see the true Sammy Watkins breakout, because Jalen Ramsey is probably going to be on Watkins. However, if Kupp starts getting a lot of catches, or Robert Woods starts getting a lot of catches, you might see Ramsey switch onto Woods or Kupp and leave Watkins maybe one-on-one with somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that if that happens, you're going to see a lot of force feeding to Watkins and maybe not some good throws by Goff. But if you can utilize the tight ends over the middle, that's going to soften up that Jacksonville defense. They need to get Pelosi out of the middle and allow Gurley to run through holes on the offensive line. The big key for me is Fournette versus the Rams run D. If they can stop Fournette and make Bortles throw the ball 35, 40 times, the Rams can easily win this game.
Yeah.
But I want to see more on the Rams. And this game, I've hated ever since I heard what the matchup was. Because it's like, well, Jacksonville could be like the 0-16 Lions. They could look like that in the game. Or they could look like the 16-0 Patriots from 2008-7.
Yeah, I just think
you just never know which Jacksonville team you're getting.
I think
I'm only giving them the edge because they're at home and the Rams are flying cross country. Now I know it's a late start, but if the Rams were able to pull out last week against Seattle, I probably would have picked the Rams in this game. But I think that loss is going to affect them a little bit more than you think. Hence why I'm picking the Jaguars, but I don't feel good about it.
Well, here's two comments on that. One, when you lose a game like that as a player and somebody who's played the game, and when you, even as a coach, but especially as a player, when you're a bad football team and you know you're good and you lose a game like they did last week against Seattle, you really chomp at the bit to get another shot at it to prove everyone you want to, because you know you're good. And every mistake you made in that game was correctable. Jacksonville thinks they're good, but the mistakes that they make are fundamental. They're scheme. And you're like, well, are we really this good? Or, what happens when we play against a player like this or a guy like this? It's problematic in Jacksonville's position. In the Rams' position, it's like, let's buckle up and play again. Like, I guarantee you the Ram players wanted to play Sunday night against the Seahawks right then and there. Like, they were like, let's buckle up and do this again because that ain't going to happen again. And as a coach, you look at it and you go, you could sell the Seattle loss. You can't really sell the Jet loss when you're Jacksonville. It's a little bit more choppy, if you will, to do something like that. So I just think on that front, I wanted to point that out. The only other thing that I really want to mention here is that I don't believe that what do you have? Bring that over here. Let me see that. Okay. Sorry, my kid grabbed something. I just had to make sure it wasn't something he wasn't supposed to have. But I said this before. The Rams have played better quality opponents. The Dallas Cowboys will be in the playoffs this year. If not, they'll be in the hunt till the very end. Pittsburgh will not. Seattle is always in the picture because as old as they are, they're a good football team, and they manage well against them. The Redskins, which was their only other loss to this point, I believe is going to be one of the best teams in the NFC this year and may even very well make it to the conference championship game against Philadelphia. The Colts, they beat down like they were supposed to, and they beat a rival on the road on short rest and played exactly the type of game they need to play offensively to bail out the defense. And when your defense gets bailed out by your offense one week, and then your defense bails your offense out down the road. And I think that this is going to be one of those games. If the Rams offense does struggle, because the Jaguars do have talent, I think you're going to see the Rams defense step up and make plays here, whether it's a strip, for a fumble recovery or a touchdown, something the Rams defense is going to do to win this game if the Rams offense struggles. It might not be this week, but that favor will be returned at some point for that 49er Ram game. And trust me, the defense knows they owe the offense one. So now it's about locking it down and getting it done. I like the matchup. I think it's two good teams. I do think Jacksonville's a year and a half away. And I say a year and a half because they're going to have to do something with the quarterback position. And depending on the QB they get with the system they have, it may take a year and a half to get that quarterback to where they want him to be to win football games on a consistent basis. Because with Fournette and with that defense, they're good enough to win in just a year and a half, not 2 years. But this is kind of that half year, and then they get a quarterback, and it might take about a year, or maybe this is a year and it'll only take half a year. It depends on who they keep and who they sign in free agency. I do think the Jags are going to be an improved football team, but I think the Rams are more improved. I think your pick is sound. The Rams have to prove it to a lot of people, but again, my formula has been 3-2 at this point, and this is the point in the season. Right now, I had the Rams down this stretch going 6-1. And then that puts them, that would have had them at 9, 10. Yeah, and then 2-2 at the end of the year, plus their 3 wins at this point. So that's why I had the Rams at 11-5. And right now, this is the stretch where the Rams should be 6-1. I could see the Houston Texans being a tough one along the way, but I had them winning that game because they were home. I had them losing to Minnesota. I'm flip-flopping that now. I think the Rams should be able to handle the Vikings because they don't have a quarterback, and I think it'll be tough to beat Houston at this point unless their defense improves dramatically. But either way, they're on pace for their 11-5 season, so now it's just a matter of getting it done. So, anyway, that's a wrap. Anything to add, Eric?
We're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the NFL schedule. So now you're going to be separating the contenders and the pretenders. So we'll see who's real and who's not. I mean, if Pittsburgh goes into Kansas City and wins, we might have to reevaluate Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
If they go in there and kind of get their butts kicked and hand it to them, it's going to be I know they might be 4-2, but it might be hard for them to reach playoffs. I'm only using them as an example because they seem to be like the Jaguars, a big Jekyll and Hyde team.
Yeah.
Games that they should win, they're losing. Games that they're losing, where are they?
Yeah.
220 yards rushing right up against the Bears, 5 interceptions against the Jaguars. Who are the Steelers right now? They just need to figure themselves out. And this is when can make or break your season.
I agree. That's a wrap for LA Rams Central. We hope you guys enjoy it. Enjoy the games today, and go Rams!